Stay tuned. Coming up, we discuss how simulations can improve situational awareness. Hello and welcome to the Situational Awareness Matters Show, episode 371. I'm your host, Rich Gassaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-risk, high-consequence, time-compressed environments with changing conditions. The SA Matters mission is simple. We want to help you see the bad things coming in time to prevent bad outcomes. Today's feature segment is sponsored by Gassaway Virtual Training. There are 33 online training programs for you to choose from. Some of the programs are live events presented virtually, and some of them are pre-recorded programs. To learn more, visit samatters.com website and click on the Virtual Training tab. All right, let's jump into our feature segment as we discuss how simulations can improve situational awareness. Simulations. Many first responder training programs use simulation in the development of decision-making competencies. Simulation exercises can develop skills in setting strategy and tactics, in applying policies and procedures, and in developing critical thinking skills. But how can simulations be used in the development of situational awareness skills? The answer lies in part in understanding what situational awareness is and how it is developed. However, and equally important, is understanding how situational awareness is impacted in the context of the environment first responders work in. It is this component of situational awareness and its application to simulations that I want to discuss here. Defining situational awareness. Situational awareness is developed by gathering information, termed clues and cues, about what's happening in the environment around you, in the context of how time is passing. Then, understanding the meaning of that information. But it doesn't end there. In part, situational awareness is formed by understanding what has happened previously, the things that led up to the current environment you are experiencing, and being able to predict future events before they unfold, those things that have not yet happened but are anticipated to happen, the outcomes of your actions or inactions. Clues and cues, also known as information. In the perfect world, a decision maker would only be provided with a short list of the most critical clues and cues, the critical information, essential to forming strong situational awareness. Unfortunately, the perfect world seldom exists, leaving decision makers with the task of having to make sense out of a barrage of information, which can contribute to several situational awareness barriers, like information overload, which can stall decision making, insufficient amounts of information, which can lead to flawed assumptions, and inaccurate information, which can lead to flawed perceptions. If the struggles of processing information were not challenging enough, the decision maker may not have control over the quality and quantity of information needing to be processed and comprehended in the formation of situational awareness. In some contexts, there will be too much information. In other contexts, there will not be enough information. Some of the information will be precise and accurate. Some may be vague and flawed. And on the fly, the decision maker is trying to make sense of it all. Mindfulness. Being aware of your surroundings in context of what some might term mindfulness is critically important. In 2004, a researcher named Bishop and his colleagues advanced the definition of mindfulness that sums up the concept nicely for the purpose of our discussion. Mindfulness involves two components. First, the self-regulation of attention so that it focuses on the immediate experience, thereby allowing for increased recognition of mental events in the present moment. And second, adopting a particular orientation toward one's experience in the present moment, an orientation that is characterized by curiosity, openness, and acceptance. To be mindful is to be aware of your environment in the context of place and time and avoid judgment by assessing the clues and cues without preconceived notions of what they mean. While this may seem vague, it is a trainable skill set. The military teaches mindfulness to soldiers to help improve their situational awareness. Sense-making. Information in the absence of context has little value. The decision maker must have an understanding of the operational environment, and this requires processing clues and cues and making sense out of what is observed and heard. The more complex the environment and the greater the volume of clues and cues, the more challenging the process of sense-making can be. In fact, volumes of information are not what the decision maker needs. Rather, what is needed is a small amount of the most important information to help form situational awareness and prime good decision making. Simulations can be very helpful in teaching strategy and tactics. They are relatively easy to design and can use low-cost software to create realistic scenarios using actual buildings from your town. The objectives can be established and communicated to participants in a relatively easy way. The process of running scenarios over and over again helps to develop memory and mindfulness through repetition. All good stuff. One component that can be overlooked in the design of simulation scenarios is making the decision environment as realistic as possible. The designer of a simulation may script a scenario to ensure the essential information is provided so the decision maker can form strong situational awareness. When first teaching decision makers, it would be a best practice to only provide them with a small amount of the most critical information they need to manage the incident. This helps the trainee learn how to make decisions based on using the most critical information. In other words, they learn what critical clues and cues they need to know. Then, once the trainee gets good at running the scenarios and making decisions, slowly build in some complexity. This can be done by adding additional information that are not critical clues and cues. It can also be done by leaving out critical clues and cues altogether. In other words, start making the scenarios realistic. As decision makers know, in the real world, the quantity and quality of information varies and rarely will be at the right amount of high quality information coming at the right time. The real world is more complicated, which requires the decision maker to sort through information for important clues and cues, and to apply perceptions of information that may not be accurate, and make assumptions to fill in the blanks where information is missing. That is the real world. And that is the environment to be recreated in simulations to improve situational awareness. If, during a simulation, a decision maker does poorly with the management of information, and that in turn leads to a bad decision, this is not a failure. In fact, this is success. Learning about how a decision is flawed based on errors in information management during simulation is much better than learning about it following a real casualty incident. Hindsight bias. After a casualty event does occur, it is easy to see what information was absent, or what perceptions were flawed, or what assumptions were erroneous. Hindsight vision is near perfect because those standing in judgment have the benefit of knowing the outcome. But those who were managing the incident in real time were not aware of how things were going to turn out. Hindsight can be a valuable tool when it is used to trace how understanding broke down. When it is used to pass judgment, it is not a tool at all, it's a weapon. If you're going to create and use simulations to train decision makers, which I think is a great way to develop decision-making competence, I would recommend involving currently practicing decision makers and ask them to offer up recommendations for how to maximize the realism of the scenarios. Ask decision makers about the stresses and the challenges they face while trying to process and comprehend information in real time. Build that complexity into scenarios. Otherwise, you're at risk of creating scenarios that are technically realistic. In other words, the clues and cues of the smoke and fire and changing conditions and etc. are completely accurate. But the environment in which the commander was operating is not. Since the start of the pandemic, I've had some amazing opportunities to present my programs on a virtual platform to groups ranging in size from 6 to 400, with recorded playbacks being viewed over 26,000 times. Here's hoping that the vaccination reduces the number of cases and returns us back to some form of normalcy. Some of it's happening now as I'm getting opportunities for some live programs. I was just in Kansas 2 weeks ago doing a live program for their State Firefighters Association conference, which is exciting. And I just did a program in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania as well. So I'm excited for all of this. May 10th, I'll be facilitating the Minnesota Virtual Training Series. This program features Randy Kern talking about how to have an effective conflict coaching conversation to improve performance. On May 15th, I'll be doing a live program for Henkels & McCoy Electric Energy Company for their line foreman, and this will be in Irvingdale, California. On May 25th, I'll be facilitating the Minnesota Virtual Training Series. This program will feature Peggy Young talking about Strength Finders. On May 26th, I'll be presenting a Situational Awareness program live for the Utah Fire Chiefs Association in Salt Lake City, Utah. On June 3rd, I'll be facilitating the Minnesota Virtual Training Series. This program will feature firefighter health and wellness experts from MinFire Initiative talking about cardiac health, cancer, and mental health. On June 8th and 9th, I'll be presenting two programs for the Fire Chiefs Association of British Columbia's annual conference. On June 14 to 16, I'll be presenting 3 Situational Awareness, Safety, and Leadership programs live for the Clark County Fire Protection District number 6 in Vancouver, Washington. Thank you to the organizations that have allowed me to offer your members virtual training, and a special thanks to the agencies that have postponed programs in 2020 and now are rescheduling those events. If you're interested in hosting a virtual program or a live event, just click the Contact Us tab at the top of the SA Matters homepage, and I'll give you a call. Finally, remember to check out the show notes for how to subscribe to our newsletter and how to follow us on social media. There we share ideas about how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to improve the skills of critical thinking and resilient problem solving. Well, that's it. Episode 371 of the Situational Awareness Matters show is complete. Thank you to our viewers and listeners for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters show with Dr. Richard Gasaway. If you're interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit his website, samatters.com. If you're interested in booking Dr. Gassaway for a program, or if you would like to be a guest on his show, click the Contact Us tab at the top of the homepage.